Hi, my name is Sonia Aurora, and I am the founder of Woke Chicago NFP. Woke stands for Watch Our Kids Eat. It is actually a nonprofit organization which I started in the April of 2020. We work towards addressing childhood hunger in West Englewood, Chicago. When coronavirus hit, I knew that I really wanted to do my part to contribute. I knew that in-person learning was canceled and that this virtual transition was really difficult for a lot of kids. So I started to tutor underserved children from West Englewood, Chicago for free. So a lot of times when I was tutoring these children, I would take a moment to kind of just ask them about their daily lives and ask how things were going on a day-to-day basis. And you would be surprised as to how many children expressed to me that they didn't have a proper meal to eat, or that they were, hungry a lot of the times and didn't have food at home. I would ask them things like, what do you miss about in-person learning the most? And so many times the response was, well, lunchtime. A lot of these kids would express to me that even when school was in session, the weekends were often difficult because they wouldn't have their school lunches to rely on for, a healthy and nutritious meal. Hearing this common response from so many of my students, I really felt like there was a need and that I needed to do something to address childhood hunger in West Englewood, Chicago. And that's when I decided to establish this nonprofit organization, Woke Chicago. West Englewood is a neighborhood located in the southwest part of Chicago, Illinois. The population is about 32,000, and about 89% of that population consists of non-Hispanic African Americans. The neighborhood is said to be one of the most dangerous areas, with about 10,000 violent crimes per 100,000 population. The whole city of Chicago has about 4,500 violent crimes per 100,000 population. When you compare these numbers, you can really see that things are bad. The median household income for West Englewood is around $27,000, as 34% of households are below the poverty level. Furthermore, the employment rate for Chicago is about 8%, while West Englewood is at a whopping 37%. When I started to look at these different demographics about Englewood and I started thinking about the different responses from my students, I started asking myself, I wonder what percentage of the households are at risk of food insecurity. Through further research, I found that about 61% of the households in West Englewood are at risk of food insecurity. When looking at the research, you can see that food insecurity really does have a lot of negative impacts on children. Studies have actually shown that children that were a part of food insecure households actually scored a lot lower in subjects such as math, science, and reading. Those children were also a lot more likely to repeat a grade, and this has been seen a lot through the research as well.
It's often seen with depression and suicidal ideation, and it often tracks back to experiencing food insecurity during childhood. So it's important to keep that in mind, that lack of proper nutrition can lead to physical and emotional impact.
Studies have also shown that children which suffer from food insecurity actually have more difficulty with memory retention and just general attention span in school as well.
Malnutrition during the childhood and adolescent years has been associated with inattention, poor school performance, reduced IQs, behavior and conduct issues, and depression. These problems can persist into adulthood and significantly limit the educational and occupational opportunities available to the impacted individuals.
There are existing efforts out there that do try to target this issue as well of childhood hunger. We have things like SNAP, we have, Kids Pack, we have the Salvation Army, Chicago Food Banks, I Grow Chicago, which is specifically in West Englewood. However, when looking at some of these existing programs, either some of them don't focus on the nutrition aspect, either they don't focus on the specific age group that we do. So what makes us kind of unique is that we specifically focus on children aged 5 to 10, and we really incorporate a educational portion into our program. We really want to make sure that people understand that it's not only about how much these kids are eating, but also what they're eating and what is going into their bodies. The Wholesome Weekends program is a program which is a part of Woke Chicago. It's still in the works. We're definitely still figuring out a lot of the program plan, But our hope is to partner with some public schools in Inglewood, Chicago, and provide extra meals to give students to take home for the weekend. So every Friday we would pass out extra meals for Saturday and Sunday for these kids to take home with them so that they are able to have healthy and nutritious food even when school is not in session. We choose to incorporate non-perishable food items into our meal packages because we really don't want to assume what the circumstances are for these children at home. You know, they might not have access to a fridge, they might not have access to a microwave, and for those reasons, we want to provide them with foods that they can easily eat regardless of their circumstances at home, right? Foods that they can quickly just pop open and not have to worry about cooking and not have to worry about, taking to an adult to prepare. So that was our main motivation for using non-perishable food items. Also, let's say they were able to get a meal from somewhere else for the weekend. They can still use our meal bags to help them out in the future, right? So we really want to make sure that we get the most benefit and the most shelf life out of these meal packages. For our target population, we chose to focus on kids from the ages of 5 to 10. There's so much out there about focusing on children under the age of 5 and malnutrition under the age of 5. And I wanted to take a moment to look at the population over the age of 5, right? I think that it's really important to address this population as well. Through my research, I found that actually the ages of 5 to 10 are also very vulnerable for children. Another study showed that major growth development takes place at the age of 7. Of course, looking at children under the age of 5 is extremely important as well, as that is a very vulnerable time for children and their growth and development. However, we also feel like it's important to address that population over the age of 5 as, growth stunting and brain development is something that can really take place beyond just the age of 5, which is why we chose to focus on the age group of 5 to 10. Our hope would be to partner with Costco or Target to get access to those food items. We are currently in contact with K&H Food Mark, which is in Humboldt Park. We've been in communication with them and they have offered to donate a lot of their food items, specifically canned items that are not being used, towards our foundation. We've also been in contact with Berlin Packaging to get access to the reusable food bags. Our hope would also be to partner with at least 2 elementary schools in West Inglewood and have them adopt our program and distribute extra meals for the weekends. So we really just need to solidify these partnerships and then get our program up and running. Through this project, I was able to address the following 5 MPH competencies. These consist of applying awareness of cultural values and practice to the design or implementation of a public health program, applying principles of leadership, governance, and management, which include creating a vision, empowering others, fostering collaboration, and guiding decision-making, designing a population-based program, communicating audience-appropriate public health content, both in writing and through oral presentation, and lastly, selecting communication strategies for different audiences and sectors. We know that change is something that takes time and doesn't happen overnight, but we here at Woke Chicago will continue our efforts to end childhood hunger in West Inglewood, Chicago.